There we go. We're recording. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Discover Tai Chi for Limb Power. Had a little break last week, but we did National Fitness Day last week on Wednesday, and it seemed to be a really good success. There's a little WhatsApp group, and there's been all kinds of good feedback and conversations going on there for all the different activities that took place throughout the day. So that's a really good outcome, I think. So well done, Limb Power. And it was lovely to be part of that. Okay, so it's Mid-Autumn Festival or Moon Festival tomorrow. It's a kind of second only to Spring Festival, or as we might know it, Chinese New Year. In terms of its importance, people come together to eat food. That's kind of a key thing, isn't it? Of all sorts of festivals, come together, eat food, drink, enjoy each other's company, go outside and look at the full moon. If you've got that ability, i.e. the skies are clear, then that would be a traditional thing to do, and then come back in and eat more food and drink more drink. You know how festivals go. It's an easy formula to get into. So we're going to have a little bit of a moon themed movement. Moon, that's alliteration, isn't it? So I'll do my usual mix of seated and standing movements. You get yourselves in position, make sure you've got some arm space, and we'll get started. Here we go. What shall I do? I'll start standing. Okay, so we'll do a movement. If you're seated and you are going to remain seated, that's okay. All the movements are easily enjoyed seated as well. So let's do stalk, pays homage to the moon. This is a lovely movement. We're bringing our wings out to the sides, up, slowly, overhead, and we're bringing our palms together. I'm going to have to step back a little bit. And then bring those palms down. And just hold at sort of chest level for a moment. Elbows out. You've got permission to stick your elbows out. And then just relax. And then once again, up. Could be a breath in. Looking up slightly as well as you bring the palms together. I know my hands are disappearing, but you can get the gist. Elbows out. So we're trying, without forcing, to get some flexibility in those wrists. It's a shoulder mobilizer as well. As I look up again, bring hands down, like so. In traditional Chinese medicine, we have two acupressure points in the center of the palm, called Lao Gong. Okay, they're associated with the fibrous sheath that protects the heart, called the pericardium. And they these 2 points are really kind of quite important in Tai Chi and Qigong. And there's a lot of kind of palms facing or palms coming together type movements. So if you want an added challenge, bring your feet closer together. It might be that they come together completely at the big toe edge. That means that we're a little less stable. So just be mindful of that. And as we bring the hands overhead, that increases the balance challenge. And then as we come down, just like so. And then again we'll do this 3 times. So second time, down. So stalk, pays homage to the moon. That's a nice start, I think, to get us into the spirit of things. Don't think there's any chance of any moon gazing where I am in Yorkshire. It's a very overcast sky. Next movement, we're going to hold a mirror, but in China, mirrors were associated with the moon. Both things reflect light, and they knew about that. So let's have our right hand down on an imaginary table. Left hand comes up in front of us, okay, just like so. And we're holding an imaginary mirror or a moon. And we take that left hand out to the side and we simply turn the head to follow. And then bring that hand back with the head following along. And then we slide the hands past one another, just like so. And we've swapped our mirror or moon now to the right hand, left hand on the coffee table, out to the side, and then back again. Slide the hands past one another in a brushing motion because the movement itself is derived from a Tai Chi movement called parting the wild horse's mane. Rather evocative. Brush the hands past one another. See what we're doing there? We're brushing the hands past, and the traditionalists in the Tai Chi world would say that every time we do so, those Lao Gong points in the palms have a chance to have a little chat to each other or to connect with one another, which is a nice idea. And we'll do one more with the right hand going out. So this is a great mobilizer for the neck and the shoulders. And it's got a really nice sensibility to it. Fab. So I'm going to sit down just to join people who are seated. If you're standing, still stand. As I say, I like to mix and match just to join people who are seated. So again, let's have those Lao Gong points in contact. And a very simple way to do that is to bring our palms together. Bring the hands in towards us. There's that flexibility. Roll the hands up and then forwards, just like so. If I turn a little bit to the side, you can get the idea of the motion. Again, there's a lot of mobility going in the wrists, elbows, shoulders as we do this. Try not to force hands together. If your palms don't come together neatly, that's okay. Everyone has different levels of flexibility in their hands, so don't force those things. So a nice simple exercise, but it brings, certainly from a Chinese perspective, from a kind of traditional Chinese medicine perspective, those Lao Gong points together. Okay. In Chinese traditions, the moon is associated with water. And again, that's not unusual, is it? We've got all those same watery associations in our culture. So let's sit in a boat or stand in a boat, and we can rock our weight from one side to the other, seated or standing. Just get used to that. And then we're going to come to a rest, and we're going to cast our fishing net from one side to the other. So let's start with our right hand just above our head, left hand just down there. Both fingers are pointing in the same direction. And then I kind of sweep the hands around to the right. Turn the hands over. Left hand comes on top, and now I sweep them round to the left. And I just alternate from one side to the other, shifting my weight from hip to hip if I'm sat down, or from one side to the other if you're standing up. Nice and gently out on the water, casting a fishing net from one side and then to the other. We're getting some important rotation in the torso, and again, lots of mobilization going through the shoulders. head and neck. Heading to the left. Don't worry if we're out of sync, but I'm going to ask you to come back to the center. Relax. Like so. Okay, next movement. Cast your cares away. So let's start with the right hand. And we're throwing our cares away to the left, like so. And then I'm casting my cares off with the left hand to the right side. So again, we get some nice rotation. If you stood up, let your weight transfer from one side to the other quite naturally, just as if you were throwing a ball off into the distance. That's sometimes what the movement is called, throwing a ball. Just like that. Okay, one more cast. And then we come to rest. So I'm going to stand up for the next few movements. I've been sat down with people. Still, all the movements are really adaptable. So it wouldn't be a moon-themed evening without gazing at the moon. That movement from the Shibashi set, it involves a spiral and a turn to look at a moon behind us, first of all to the right and then to the left. So let's start off gradually, again, seated or standing, turning, lifting the hands and arms and looking up and backwards to the right, and then down and up and backwards to the left. Again, you'll notice that there's some weight shift that you can utilize to help with the movement, but try not to overdo it at first. Keep balanced. Move within a comfortable range of motion and enjoy that kind of flow from one side to the other, just like that. One of my favorite movements. So we'll go once more to each side. And finish there, gazing at the moon. And we'll finish off a little later with another movement that has the moon in mind. But let's enter a watery environment and push some waves. I'll stay standing. We're going to alternate from one side to the other as we do this. So again, if you're standing up, you can take a little pace in each respective direction if you feel comfortable doing so. So I'm picking up my hands. I'm turning to my right, maybe doing a little pace, and then pushing a wave out in that direction with a shift of weight forward and then back. And then I'm turning now to the left, maybe with a little pace and a push in that direction. If you sat down, you can enjoy the same movement with just a turn of the waist. And some people who are sat down like to push each respective leg out in time with the movement of the upper limbs, pushing at the same time. So it's a good movement to employ to get us confident in transferring weight from one side to the other. And doing this with a prosthetic limb or on prosthetic limbs can be jolly tricky. But sometimes a bit of a challenge can be useful over time to help us build some important strength and also confidence in our balance. I'm going to go one more to each side. And again, don't worry if we've ended up out of sync. Doesn't matter. Excellent. Pushing waves. Okay. So let's paint some rainbows. We start off by picking up an imaginary ball, but I'm going to suggest a full moon overhead. And then we're tilting to the left, and I'm looking to my moon and to the left hand in particular. And then I'm picking it up and tilting to my right, and I'm looking to the bottom hand, the right hand, as I do so. And I go from one side to the other, carrying the moon just like that. Again, it's a challenge for the muscles of the trunk to help us stabilize as we transfer weight, again, whether we're seated or standing. So I'm going to do one more on each side. Again, don't worry if we're in sync or out of sync, doesn't matter. This is my last one. And then relax. Ooh, and that can give you quite achy arms. So that was a little segment standing. Once again, I'm going to rejoin people who are seated. People may be watching later who are seated. Again, stay standing if you wish. And let's part some clouds so that we can see the moon. Again, seated or standing, I'll just turn to the side a little bit. So we're crossing the hands down below, and then we're bringing them up in front of the shoulders or chest, and then turn the palms out, and then open upwards, parting the clouds. Little finger edges on the way down, all the way down to cross, only this time the opposite hand crosses over, turn, open up, like so. Nice and slowly. You could have a big breath in as we lift the hands overhead. And a breath out on the down. Or you could just focus on the movement like so. Or you could focus your attention in the palms of each hand on that Lao Gong point and have a sense that you're almost painting with your hands like brushes. Lovely. Sometimes in our community classes, to help with this idea of focusing on the palm of a hand, we suggest that you imagine that you've got two torches or two head torches strapped to your palm so that you're wielding light as we move our hands. So that can sometimes be an interesting idea, and that if we were outside at night, you'd see all of these light sources whirling around and making spirals and all kinds of circular shapes. So if that kind of piques your imagination, go with the flow, so to speak. Okay, let's become one with the sea and sky. This is quite a challenge. I'll do it seated, but you can do it standing. I'm pushing my right leg forward. You might, if you can, take a little pace forward if you're standing up. And then I'm sweeping my hands forward with a little bit of a lean, and then I'm going to cast them upwards. So it's called becoming one with the sea and sky. Bit of a lean forward, and then a lean back as we cast upwards and overhead. So it goes steady, not strictly an easy movement, particularly again if we wear a lower limb prosthesis. So it's okay to sit down and enjoy some of these movements simply because it makes life easier. I'm going to do one more on this side because we have it all to do with the left leg leading. So let's just take our times. Take our times, take our time. Okay, I'll turn a little bit to the left, hopefully to give you a better view. So I'm pushing this leg forward. If you sat down with me, it actually gives you some support to lean into. If you're standing, again, it acts as some support, but again, it may depend if you do use a prosthesis, whether you're in control of it, particularly if it's got a knee joint in there, then that can be sometimes an issue. So just go steady. Here we go again. So I'm scooping down to the sea and then casting up overhead. And don't necessarily expect to have the same range of motion or ease of motion from one side to the other. It's quite natural to have some differences from left to right as we go. Okay, going to do one more because that's quite a challenging movement, but one that's nice all the same. Okay, so opening hearts. It's a nice movement, and again, I'll do it seated. So we're starting by picking my hands up, turning them out, opening the hands as far as you feel comfortable, and then bringing them back together, and then lowering them either down to the sides and then back up again. Opening hearts, turning the palms. If you've got those torches in mind, you can imagine the kind of effect you might create if you had them. So a simple movement, but a useful one, helping the chest muscles, shoulders. Could be a breath in as we open the hands, and a breath out as we close and lower. We'll do one more, just like so. Okay. So, penultimate movement. It's called carrying the earth. No, carrying the moon down to the earth, down to earth. I'll get it in the right order, excuse me. Quite a challenging movement again, both seated or standing. I'm going to do it standing because, again, just to join people who are standing. Involves some weight shift for both of us if we are staying seated. So we're imagining that when we look up either to the right or to the left, that there's a full moon. And we're going to kind of reach up, take hold of it, bring it to the center, and then lower it down. It's almost a bit like a ballet type movement. And we start with our hands just in front of us, like so. Can you see that? Well, my hands are kind of disappearing a little bit in this light. So I'm going to go to the right. I'm looking up to the right, bringing my weight to that side, embracing an imaginary moon, hands just over the top, and then lowering down, gently like so. And then I'm going to do the same on the left. I know my hands disappear, but you know what's going on. My hands come over the top of the moon and I bring it back and lower it down. Very ballet-like. Up again to the right side. If you're shifting your weight in that direction, it can be a real challenge to stabilize yourself. Again, whether you're seated or standing. So just again, go steady. And down. Here we go. One more on each side. Lots going on there. It's a real full body engagement to go from one side to the other, lifting my hands high and then lowering down. Okay, so we'll finish with a little sequence that is familiar to most of you called Gather Celestial Energy and Gather Earth's Energy. I will do it seated again, just to join those people seated. And let's imagine that not only have we got a starry night above us with clear skies, we've also got a big autumnal full moon as well to enjoy. That would be the ideal. So I'm picking up my hands, palms down, and then I'm looking up to an imaginary night sky. There's the moon, and I lift the hands up as I look up, and then I bring some of that night sky down to earth. Bring some stars down. And we gather the stars as the hands come down and around. And we hold on to them. Maybe a little bit of light from the moon, and then we let it all go. And then we pick the hands up to the sides. We take a blanket of the earth and we wrap it around us. And then we let it fall away. And then let's do this 2 more times, total of 3. So gather celestial energy, looking up towards the sky, stars and moon, all in view. Bring some of that light and color down to earth. Gather it up. Hold on for a moment and then let it go. You could gift it to people if you wish. Wrap yourself now in the blanket of the earth, all cozy. And for the last time, hands come up, gather celestial energy, looking up. Bring the hands down. And sweep them around to gather everything that you've got. And then let it go. Last time, wrapping in the blanket, all cozy, touching the tops of the collarbones or the shoulders, and then letting that go and fall away. And then just to finish, we bring the thumbs to link together, rest right on the lower part of the abdomen, just below the navel. And then if you wish, for a few seconds, you can rest your eyes. Take a breath, let it go, take another breath, and just breathe comfortably. And just let everything settle and come to a standstill. It's a quality called Jing in Chinese, and it's redolent of a lake. And in that surface, which is mirror-like, we can see the moon reflected. And we can just breathe in that scene. And then when we're ready, we part the hands. And that's the session. So, happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Officially, it starts tomorrow, but on the eve of the Mid-Autumn Festival, that's when people would come together, start eating and drinking, and if the moon was out, they would go outside and tip their hats metaphorically to the moon. So if you are in the WhatsApp group, I did post a little kind of article about the Mid-Autumn Festival. So if you fancy having a look at that, please do. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording. You can hang on if you've got any questions, or you can give me a wave and head off. But for now,